Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, here I am representing IPPNW, International Physicians for the Prevention of Nuclear War. It's important that, and I am representing it as a co-president. Very important for me that I was selected as a co-president here in Hiroshima 3 years ago during our Congress which held in Hiroshima. Thank you very much for a great honor to speak in front of such outstanding, prominent, and respectable audience of this dramatic 70th anniversary of the Hiroshima nuclear bombing. Founded 30 years ago, IPPNW was an inspiration born of the Cold War. With the world divided into two militarized camps, poised on the brink of nuclear war, a small group of the Soviet and American doctors took a leap of faith. They reasoned that their common interest in survival was more powerful than the ideological divides between them. They believed that their obligation as physicians included a common commitment to the prevention of nuclear war. Led by co-founders, Drs. Bernard Laun of the US and Yevgeny Chazov of the Soviet Union, the doctors sounded a medical warning to humanity that nuclear war would be the final epidemic, that there would be no cure and no meaningful medical response. Their message reached millions of people around the world. In these words of former New Zealand Prime Minister David Lamb, IPPNW made medical reality a part of political reality. IPPNW educated health professionals, political leaders, and the public about the medical and environmental consequences of nuclear warfare. For this effort, IPPNW was awarded the UNESCO Peace Education Prize in 1984 and the Nobel Peace Prize in 1985. Throughout the end of 20th century and until the present, IPPNW comprehensively documented the health and environmental effects of the production, testing, and use of nuclear weapons. In a series of well-researched publications and various fora, IPPNW spelled out the tremendous price nuclear weapons states are paying in their pursuit of nuclear weaponry. IPPNW firmly states that there will be no winner in a nuclear war. Any use of nuclear weapons will ultimately cause the death in our civilization. After the end of the Cold War, nuclear confrontation seemed to have vanished. Comprehensive nuclear disarmament and ultimate abolition of nuclear weapons looked realistically achievable. We all remember the Abolition 2000 campaign goals to get rid of weapons before entering the 21st century. This goal did not look as a mystery at that time. However, the 21st century did not bring a relief in the global security and safety. Numerous armed conflicts took place. Nuclear threat and nuclear proliferation remain acute and have even grown. Despite the end of the Cold War and the end of nuclear confrontation between superpowers, the major world's military alliance, NATO, which was founded against Soviet nuclear threat, still remains and grows. Moreover, little has changed in NATO's nuclear policies. Despite the fact that Russia removed all nuclear weapons from former Soviet republics back in 1991-1992, that there are no nuclear weapons outside Russian territory, that Russia has no nuclear sharing treaty with other countries, that Russia is a side to all international treaties in nuclear weapons sphere, the NATO enlargement, which started in the 90s of the 20th century, is still ongoing. For decades, the leaders of the NATO and USA preferred just to ignore justifiable concerns of Russia. Beside the effect on the overall security balance in Europe and globally, the NATO enlargement also makes real the proliferation of nuclear weapons and nuclear infrastructure onto the territories of NATO's new members. The development and deployment of the US national missile defense into US global missile defense system undermines nuclear balance between Russia and USA and thus poses a threat to world stability and security. There were, of course, some positive developments too. For instance, successful negotiations and signing of START 3, support of the United Nations to Nuclear Weapons Convention, long-awaited breakthrough on Iran nuclear program. However, in strategic concepts of both Russia and NATO-USA nuclear deterrence is still a cornerstone of national and bloc security. The main argument is the possible actions of the opposite side, or rather a virtual enemy. If you have no enemy, then it's invented or created it to unite the nation and maintain the army. As a result, military spendings in the world are rising at the expense of health, education, environment, and sustainable development. Everything is interconnected and interrelated in our world. After decades of criticizing NATO expansion and US strategic domination, but basically adhering to nuclear disarmament, Russia is now increasing its military budget and modernizing its strategic potential. The USA plans to redeploy ballistic missiles in Europe, which undermines the 1987 treaty on short and medium-range missiles. It's quite obvious that if it happens, Russia will also take similar steps. It's very sad to see that instead of focusing on reaching peaceful, sustainable development world free from nuclear weapons, colossal resources are being spent on fueling military complexes, on dividing countries and peoples, on rising mistrust and fears. Armed conflicts, even regional or local, also raise nuclear threats, including threat of use as well as nuclear proliferation. We sadly see that in the result of the crisis in Ukraine, there are voices among the present-day Ukrainian political establishment that Ukraine must regain nuclear weapons. This can be regarded as unrealistic at the present moment, but it's indeed a clear and loud alarm sign. However, in the current period of social interest, political instability, and weakened control from the state, there is an obvious immediate risk rising from the Ukrainian nuclear power complex. How safe will be the operation of nuclear power units? How proper is the handling of nuclear materials and waste? I strongly believe that it's high time to break through this vicious circle. Now, more than ever, the voice of the public all over the world must be heard by the nuclear states and leading decision makers. Nuclear weapons have neither military nor political utility. Nuclear weapons do not deter terrorists. Nuclear states are more vulnerable to preemptive strike and terrorist targeting than non-nuclear countries. There is no such notion as limited nuclear warfare. Any use of nuclear weapons will cause a global nuclear crisis and will ultimately lead to the collapse of our civilization. The more existence of nuclear weapons poses a global threat to our planet. When it comes to nuclear weapons, there are no safe hands. So long as any country has these weapons, others will want them, and the world will be in a precarious state. Thus, nukes must be abolished, and nuclear powers must remember that it's their obligation under Non-Proliferation Treaty. A new non-discriminate system of European and transatlantic security based on measures of credibility, verification, and transparency is needed. There should be a worldwide support to the international campaign to abolish nuclear weapons, ICANN, launched by IPPNW and other international NGOs. Why should we act now? Major threats and challenges that are faced by the humanity require immediate, collective, and cooperative response by all nations. Hiroshima and Nagasaki catastrophe must never happen again. And we represent here different countries, different nations, religions, but have one goal: to live in a free world, free, nuclear weapons-free world. So let's work hard, pray, and once we eliminate nuclear weapons for all. God bless us. Thank you.